Well, so we have to begin the discussions. And on the front page of the various newspapers, the report on what the Supreme Court seemed to have told the Electoral Commission. I'm just literally saying told to the Electoral Commission. On the front page of the Daily Statement, it says, stubborn EC humiliated at Supreme Court. And then you have an interesting one, I think, on the Ghanaian Times front page. It says EC flawed again. Supreme Court orders second chance for candidates. 9 parties rush to correct forms. But it's our main topic for discussion this morning. John Kuma is a legal practitioner. He's joined me here. A very good morning to you.
Good morning, my brother.
But before we commence the discussion, let's premise it on this. Bandis Abu Beidu is roving on this very subject on one of the streets of our capital, Accra. It's on the Supreme Court interpretation or decision and this directive to the Electoral Commission. And what we, ordinary people, ordinary Ghanaians, ordinary voters think about it.
With just about a month to December 7, where Ghanaians will go to the polls to decide who will govern the nation for the next 4 years, a lot of issues are coming up. Now we know that some disqualified aspirants went to the court to ask that the court quash the decision of the Electoral Commission to disallow them from contesting in this year's polls. Well, yesterday the Supreme Court gave a directive to the EC asking them to give all the disqualified aspirants up to the close of day today to correct the mistakes. After that, we know that EC has been saying that the PPP's mistakes have moved from 1 to about 105 errors. What do all of these mean to the ordinary Ghanaian? I'm here at Osu Oxford Street to have a conversation with Ni Enchi and John Ayi, and basically they'll just be sharing with us what they feel about all of this. Hello. So what do you think? It's been a long time coming up to the elections, and as we drew close, we had a lot of court cases, and now the Supreme Court
concerning this particular election. I believe myself as a Ghanaian, as Ghanaians, we should go out there, I mean, coming 7 December, to express what we've gone through the 4 years of this particular government. Should I say, no, the voice of the youth is the voice of the people, and the voice of the people is the voice of God. There are a lot of youth around saying there are no jobs. There are no jobs. That's the concern of the youth. Nanado, Danko Akufo-Addo is promising jobs. Mama is also promising jobs. But feasibility of the being, I mean, should I say, how is feasible is both policies. Pakwisi Ndom, PPP, we know him of, we call him a Jumarera because he has done a lot of jobs, companies. Should I say, we've seen what he can do too. Okay, but let me come back to the petition. We don't know the intention behind the Supreme Court's, the Electoral Commission's ideas towards PPP. I just sometimes wonder why and the stress they are putting the PPP into. Because if you can give the fellow the second chance to do his corrections, then why not? Why not?
Well, that's what the court is ordering them to do. So the PPP and all the other disqualified aspirants have up to close of day today. But a lot of people have also been talking about the fact that now the errors of the PPP have moved from 1 to 105.
If it has moved from 1 to wherever, I mean, today is today. He can do that correction. If he is able to do the correction, why not? They should put him on the ballot box.
All right, then hold on a bit. Let me go to John. John, what do you feel about all of this? I mean, court cases, just about a month to the elections.
Honestly, it's my energy.
Well, so Ben is Abu Beidu, trying to give us perspectives from you, the ordinary person, what you make, or whether you appreciate the directive from the Supreme Court in itself. But we have a legal practitioner in the studio. He helps us put the perspective on the matters. And John Kuma is here. Thanks for joining me, John.
Thank you, my brother.
But what did the Supreme Court say to the Electoral Commission in itself, just in summary?
Okay, now, Yesterday, one of the functions of the Supreme Court is to exercise its supervisory jurisdiction over the high courts. And they did not interpret usually as...
so we're using the terminology.
Yes,
or I am
interchangeably.
using it.
So it was not about interpretation, it was a certiorari application which sought to quash the decision of the High Court. But after the determination, they gave some consequential orders. Essentially, what the Supreme Court said yesterday was that the principles of natural justice was breached by the Electoral Commission by failing to provide that nomination period within which the disqualified aspirants could be given opportunity to remedy or correct the mistakes on their forms. So, and that is one legal principle in law that any day, any time, any court comes across a breach of a natural justice, it will seek to remedy it. So, because you cannot condemn a man without hearing him. So, what the court did yesterday was to instruct or order the EC to extend the nomination period to close of day today to enable not just the PPP, but all the other political parties who suffered from the decision of the EC, to enable them correct all those mistakes that were found on their forms. So they have up to close of day today to correct these mistakes. Apparently yesterday, right from the Supreme Court, the political parties ran to the offices of the EC and nearly ended in a commotion because the EC wouldn't come out to meet them. And I'm told some protestations had to go on at a point before she finally came out and handed over letters to them indicating certain errors that they have to deal with by close of today. My problem and challenge so far has been with the posture of the EC. The EC is not behaving like a referee. And I cannot believe that a simple matter on hearing the disqualified aspirants have to end up at the Supreme Court when we have less than 30 days to an election. I just cannot understand the posture of the EC and what she's seeking to attain. And even now, after the orders of the Supreme Court, if you remember when the Supreme Court gave an order on NHIS card holders, look at what the EC took us through. I don't understand. I'm waiting for the judgment to read. After she read, she said she doesn't understand. And then she said she has to go back for clarification. Finally, it took the Supreme Court to order them, you bring us the list. If you don't understand, we know what to do. For the Supreme Court itself to quash and delete those names from the register. So I think we are beginning to see a similar posture from the EC, where instead of the one issue he raised with the PPP, now we are being told she has raised about 105 errors to be corrected. Knowing that they have less than 24 hours to correct these mistakes. So I don't know. One thing I can say for sure is that if by close of today, the PPP is not able to remedy these errors, then of course they have come to a dead end. Nothing could be done. Because the only reason why they were heard in court was because they were not given opportunity of hearing. But once the EC has heard you and found you still disqualified or not qualified to be on the voter on the ballot, then it's a problem. There's not much anybody could do to help these people. But it is not a good experience to go through looking at these political parties who have gone through various stages of elections. Right from the polling stations, they had to do constituency elections. At the regional and even parliamentary elections, they had to go into flag bearership selection. And all these things were supervised or managed by the Electoral Commission. So if at the point of being on the national ballot, that is when the EC wants to use these simple technicalities to get them off the ballot, I think it's very unfair and it's very painful. But let's see how things turn out. If we are not careful, the EC will be dragged again to Supreme Court, especially the PPP situation where they have increased their number of errors from 1 to 105. If they are unable to correct some of these mistakes by close of the day, I am foreseeing another Supreme Court action against the EC.
For you as an observer, a politician and a legal person, do you foresee that there could be some delays or that the way is all clear for the election to be convened?
As for the elections, I believe that as long as there is no injunction, the elections will happen. And if you looked at the consequential orders the Supreme Court gave yesterday, when they should close nominations, when they should do balloting, when printing should be done and everything, it should tell you that nobody is prepared to jeopardize the elections by creating any constitutional crisis for us as a country. Because the danger is that if on 7th of January there's no government to hand over to, what it will mean is that the executive arm of government has ended. The president has to step down. Parliament, the legislature will also have to be dissolved. In fact, they already have gone on adjournment synodized. So it means they are already virtually dissolved. And so maybe we may have to call on the Chief Justice to act.
They've not been formally dissolved. They've gone on recess, and then they'll come back and be dissolved.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. If by the midnight of this is January or 7th January, it means that all their authority will come to an end. And then it means that we may have to call on the Chief Justice to now act as President and act as a Speaker of Parliament and to act as Chief Justice. And to have all these powers in one person can have dire consequences on the nation. So we don't want to get to that constitutional crisis. And I believe no court in this country will place an injunction looking at the balance of convenience on these elections. And as long as there is no injunction, nothing stops the EC from going ahead with even the 4 shortlisted candidates that they want to hold the election. So I believe the elections will come on, except that it will be marred in so many controversies, and this may be one of the most controversial elections we have had in the Fourth Republic. I mean, few days to the elections, less than a month, we still have potential for legal suits. And remember, yesterday the Supreme Court had to state all legal actions pending at the various high courts. You know, different parties having different issues to do with the EC. And I don't know why this EC is so stubborn, I mean, in terms of negotiations or its approach in dealing with the stakeholders in these elections. I think they should be flexible. They should be more open and accommodating and tolerant to even people they think they don't want to work with. They are referees, for Christ's sake. They are not participants. They are not players. But gradually they are beginning to portray themselves as if they are active participants of the elections, but they are supposed to be the moderators, and so far they are not carrying themselves well in that regard.
And talking about elections, we know that in the next few hours, citizens in the United States of America will be voting to elect the leader for the next 4 years as well. But we want to touch base with our correspondent, but also get to know what the perspectives are from the countries or the respective jurisdictions in which they are. And from the United Kingdom, we have Gifty Andoapia. A good morning to you, Gifty. But what really is the atmosphere and what the sentiments are in relation to the elections taking place or going to take place in the United States or in the UK?
Hi, Roland. It's been a long time. I hope you're doing well.
Well, I am okay.
Great. I don't know if I can speak. I beg your pardon. I don't know if I can speak directly to the general mood, but what I can say is that, I mean, the UK has followed the US election very rigorously, and I could say that every single, I mean, there isn't a single day when you won't find news of the election in the newspapers. It's all over the place. But what I don't find is bumping into people talking about the US election, like on a daily routine. You do get the sense that there is a heightened awareness, or there is a certain awareness. You know, people know about it, but it's a bit subtle. It's more like they know about it, but I don't find people talking about it. It also depends really on where you are. You know, the UK is a very big place, of course, so it really depends on where you are. I live in a place called Harrow, and occasionally I go into like central London. So I'm sure central London will probably be different, because London, of course, is a very diverse place. But then generally, the sense that I get is people know, they are aware. Of course, the US and the UK have a very good relationship, and they have issues of mutual interest and all of that. But I don't get the sense that people are talking about it, as much as probably you'd expect.
But does it mean, especially knowing that there's just been the Brexit in the UK, does it mean that perhaps also that kind of sentimental feeling of having to elect a candidate on the other side of the continent, that is in the US, who perhaps may not be generally the favored, that also is hitting them hard, knowing that they could be replicating that on the other side of the continent as well?
Well, hitting them hard, how do you mean? They're not necessarily hitting them hard. I think there are people who feel, and you hear things like, we hope there won't be another Brexit experience. And when they say Brexit experience, they're basically talking about how the result of the election, of the referendum, took people by surprise, so to speak, because the young people who were thought to have believed in Brexit did not vote, apparently, and were Googling Brexit after the election, after the referendum itself. So it took them by surprise. So one of the things that when they say, we hope this won't be another Brexit experience, is like, we hope we won't be taken by surprise, because generally the opinion, there's a certain positive disposition towards Hillary Clinton as against Donald Trump, of course, because of the way he behaves, and people think that he's a weird thing. But I'll tell you something about what people feel about Donald Trump, for instance. Recently, and like I said, there's a lot of conversation going on in terms of what the newspapers are reporting and all of that. There's a newspaper here called the Evening Standard that is a free newspaper, comes out in the evening. They had a debate in collaboration with the CNN, and one of the issues that came up, one of the things that they said, that the panelists said about Donald Trump, was that, listen, he is a weird character, of course, but you cannot take for granted how well he has done, looking at his personality and the weird things that he says, and the fact that he is not a career politician, but has been able to rise through the ranks to become a Republican nominee, and to even get to the level of national campaigns with Hillary Clinton. So when they say the Brexit experience, I think the majority of people are like, if you vote Trump, if the US votes Trump, it will feel like a Brexit experience. But then there are also people who feel like, let's get this over and done with already, because the campaigns have been going on for a very long time. If you realize, and people are sort of, you get that feeling like, let's get this done. Let's get this done. But I tell you that here in the UK as well, they have their own issues to deal with. They have their own Brexit issues to deal with, and there are some legal issues that are coming up. Of course, there being a court case that's sort of giving Parliament power to veto the Brexit. So they have their own issues to deal with. So perhaps that's the reason why you may not hear a lot of people talking about Brexit. So yeah, perhaps that's the reason why you may not have a lot of people raising the conversation, in marketplaces or anything like that. But also, it's very cold, I must tell you. Where I think yesterday in the morning, I haven't checked this morning, but yesterday in the morning when I woke up, it was about 10 degrees. And maybe you won't get people, standing in public places and having a conversation about Donald Trump and Clinton. But there is that awareness. People know about it. The newspapers are reporting. They are on the beat every single day. You get that feeling. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Gifty and Apia from Harrods, United Kingdom, and speaking to us from what her locality, what the perspective is from the ordinary British person or Britain, what they think about the U.S. elections. And John, what do you think about it yourself? Knowing that each year they have an election, we also seem to be having an election as well.
Yes, I've been following with key interest, and especially last week when the FBI director came out with a certain information that they were still investigating Clinton on the emails. It affected her performance in the polls. And I mean, the reality of Trump becoming president became so real.
Yeah, but now she's been cleared by the FBI, almost,
yes,
something like that.
And when I think that was just yesterday, the information came that they still have not found anything, and that their conclusion in July still holds. So, I mean, we are all expecting that Hillary Clinton becomes the next president of the U.S. But elections, anything can happen. And let's hope to see how the day turns out. Because sometimes you may have massive support who refuse to vote. Your supporters may refuse to go and vote. And at that point, there's very little that you can do. But looking at even her campaign team, the various outlets, while President Obama and the wife are, campaigning, her husband, former President Clinton, is also campaigning. You have Joe Biden also campaigning. Even Al Gore yesterday joined the campaign of Hillary Clinton. And all the living presidents of America, from George Bush, all the both Bush and Clinton and Jimmy Carter, they have all endorsed Hillary Clinton and failed to, endorse Trump, even the Republican presidents. Okay. So the world expectation today is that by close of this election, Hillary Clinton should win. Okay. So let's hope and see what happens there and how it.
And the expectation of the MPP is that by hours in a month's time, the presidential candidate.
The Economic Intelligence Unit predicted victory for Hillary Clinton in America and Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in Ghana. And so if Hillary Clinton wins, then it stands to reason that, of course, Nana Akufo-Addo will also win next month because they looked at the various indicators and nothing has changed. So hopefully, Nana Addo should also become the next president-elect in Ghana.
On the front page of the Statesman is a story saying that the MPP accuses the Electoral Commission of bad faith. And it says the party is accusing the Electoral Commission of bad faith as a result of saying that it's discriminating and dealing with the party in a negative way, especially with regards to having access to the final list of the voters register.
Yes, and
because it's for close to 2 weeks, we still continue to wait for these lists.
Yes.
Were you expecting as parties that by now you would have had the list of voters?
Strangely, apart from the NPP, all the other qualified parties have been given their proper list.
I don't get you.
You
have a certain list from the EC.
Yes, which has been corrupted from day one. The EC gave, instead of hard copy, they gave soft copies. So you go with your hard drive, and the EC will put the information on it for you. All the political parties had their list, their soft copies, and were able to open it. But the NPP, for almost 2 weeks, have not been able to open their files because it's corrupted. And they kept reminding the EC that the files you gave us have problems, so kindly replace it. And they have been there in and out every day. Will give it to you the next day, the following day, until yesterday when there was a press conference. So I don't know why the EC has been dragging his feet in dealing with the New Patriotic Party on the voter register. They don't also have the proxy voting, the international register, and all those people who have registered abroad and all kind of things. So there are problems with the EC and how it's dealing with the New Patriotic Party. And I think the party has openly complained. And yesterday there was a press conference to complain, even in the media, about how the EC, when the other political parties have confirmed, the NDC has confirmed that they have received their list, their register is correct, and they are working with it. Unfortunately, the other political parties to have received, except the NPP, who continue to complain because the EC is not giving them the correct data to enable them open the files and to study it and then be able to work with it. So that is where we are now. It's unfortunate that these things keep coming because it affects the credibility of the EC and of course the entire elections. And even in America, when
because
Donald
you have
Trump,
your file corrupted, the Electoral Commission doesn't have credibility.
It shouldn't take an hour to replace a corrupted file. So if it's taking, yes, it's less than
a minute.
Yes, 30 minutes. So if it's taking the EC 2 weeks on a persistent demand, it's not like the person has gone to sleep. So it should tell you that there's a problem. And in America, Donald Trump was complaining about rigged elections, right? Even in America, if they can complain about rigging the election. He
says that the election has been rigged from day one for the Clinton campaign.
But he's so funny because when the FBI came out on the investigation on Clinton, he was so happy and milking every opportunity. When yesterday they cleared her, he said, oh, they have cleared her to rig the elections.
Well, we'll see how that goes. But if the MPP or the political parties have the voters list, so to speak, up to date, what does it mean? What do they use it for?
Yes, you need to know the number of people on the register because you cannot go into the election without knowing who are the voters. You must know who are the voters. So that's how important it is to have the register. And in the CI, they are supposed to have it at least 1 month to the elections. And as we speak today, the NPP does not have it. So if you don't have it, how sure? Because, you know, people have complained about proxy votes, this proxy list. How many people throughout the nation did the proxy? So that the turnout in the proxy, which people have complained that is also opportunity for fraud in the elections. 100 people may vote, we may end up having about 1,000 votes counted and all these things. So if you're a political party, you are supposed to know how many people are on the register, so that, and then you are supposed to know even every polling station, who are the registered people within the polling station, so that you can target your campaign and your outreach, and especially getting people out to vote on the D-Day. So this is a very crucial document in terms of the voter register, because people can make all the noise. If they are not on the voter register, they cannot vote on the election day. So it is an important document that all the political parties must have, and they must have it on time so that they can study how the dynamics of it looks like. And even if you go to the EC's website, especially the polling stations, they have so many different figures. Some say 29,000, some say 26,000. On their website, you can have 5 different figures about number of polling stations. You can check it up today.
What were you told as parties?
We were told it's 29,000. But you go to their website and you have different numbers. You remember when we went to Supreme Court, Afarijan brought a list. He said that they registered 245,000 Ghanaians abroad. When the Supreme Court asked him to bring it, he brought 705. Now, what is the status of those registered abroad today as we speak?
The political parties, you've not been finished with the list?
Yes, that is where the problem is. Give us the register for us to determine how many have been registered abroad, who are the proxy voters, and all these things. The NPP is still not getting it. And these are some of the problems. It's affecting the integrity of the elections, and the idea that elections must be fair, on level playing field, is not happening with this Electoral Commission. It's very unfortunate.
Well, we have on the line lawyer Yao Pong. He's also a lecturer with the Law Faculty of the Central University College. A very good morning to you, lawyer Yao Pong, but particularly from the Supreme Court and the perspective they have about what the Electoral Commission needs to do. Okay, we seem to have lost him. All right, and now let's wrap up our discussions in the meantime. If you don't get the register in due course, what actions would the NPP be taking? Well,
yesterday, I think there was an indication that after the press conference, they'll be picketing at the EC's office, maybe if we don't get it by close of today. So I hope that we don't get there. But I believe there will be other mass actions to put pressure on the Electoral Commission to do the right thing. We all want peace in these elections. Some of the tensions are unnecessary, and the EC should stop creating doubts in the minds of people that it's not working favorably with all the parties, but it's favored some people against others. It should not be so.
Okay.
We should begin to see the EC acting fairly and equally to all the political parties.
In the elections, I know that you started training your agents already.
Sure.
Okay. What role will you be playing? Especially we know that since you people are middle-level people and middle-level class or middle-class people, your professionals, etc.
Yes. Now we are pushing the adopt a polling station approach. Okay. So every one of us will be at the polling stations. But beyond that, there will be officially designated individuals with tags as polling agents who have also been trained to understand how the numbers add up and how voter calculation is done at the end of the polls. And we must also ensure, now the Supreme Court has also ordered the EC to give the cumulative sheet, which is the constituency pink sheet, to all the political parties, which is also a good thing, because if you have your pink sheets at the polling stations, you should have the same numbers appearing on the coalition sheet, which should give you comfort.
So you'll be having it at the constituency and regional level?
Yeah, there will be no regional this time. It will come from the polling station to the constituency, and then right from the constituency, it will be forwarded to the National Coalition Center.
Okay. Well, thank you very much,
Thank
John
you,
Kuma.
my brother.
And John Kuma is a legal practitioner. Joining us this morning, he's also a member of the MPP as well, giving us his own perspective and views on all that is the most topical of subject, the Electoral Commission and the Supreme Court and the various political parties, and whether their candidates are qualified or not. We'll get to know by the close of today or by Newsday early tomorrow. But that's where we take a break from now. We have to invite Becky into the studio to give us more entertainment highlights as we wrap up the show for the morning. Do stay on.